Hey guys, M13 here. I actually tested out this setup on my Patreon. I did a fairly good video. Started off as a public video, but then I started to get into more sensitive topics, so it went to Patreon only. For those of you that don't watch my videos on Patreon, you should. You can pay as little as $1 per month. I would prefer you paid like $1 per video, because I only upload about 4 per month, so that'd be like $4 per month. And you get like a behind the door view of a Canadian's life in Asia who's dealing with divorce, custody battles, criminal charges, addictions, depression. There's a whole lot of crap on there, a whole lot of personal crap. My bike was wobbling a bit there. It freaked me out. Well, I am doing 100 and the speed limit is 40, so. that was a pretty steep lean. Yeah, the neat thing is the camera, this camera that I use, when you mount it, it stays level, even when the bike isn't. So you actually get to see lean angles for a change. Because on most bikes, when the bike leans, the camera leans. So you see the horizon shifting, but you don't really get a sense of how far the person is actually leaning. With this camera, you do. When I review the videos, I'm like, yeah, that's more realistic. And I can switch the view. I can show you what's ahead of me. And because it's a 360 camera, I really like this camera. I really do. Crazy thing about this, there's a story behind this camera. I was giving a tour to I think it was a husband and wife, and the guy was a police officer. I forget what his wife did. Anyways, I was giving a tour to a husband and wife, and they had this camera. They were using it, and I commented that I actually wanted to get that camera, but I couldn't really afford it, but I was going to get one in the future. And this was, the tour was actually a Christmas tour. They booked me for Christmas. They wanted to spend their Christmas traveling around in Asia. So on Christmas morning, I guess on Christmas Eve, I went out and bought them some small gifts like t-shirts and some other stuff to give them as presents on Christmas. And we didn't agree to do this. We didn't agree to do a gift exchange. But then, so on Christmas morning, I gave them some t-shirts, and they gave me their camera. So that was really nice of them. And they were also my first 4-star review. Really nice couple, but also my first ever not 5-star review. That was because I got a little, I wouldn't say angry, upset, bothered. I stopped. It's mostly my fault, to be honest. I'll take the blame. It was a fully deserved 4-star as opposed to a 5-star, because I got annoyed because we were exploring some temple or something, and I said, okay, let's go walk around and we'll meet back here. And they walked around for like over an hour, and I walked around for about 20 minutes, and then the problem was we were on a schedule. But it was entirely, I would say it's my fault, because I didn't explain to them how long we should meet back. I just thought, go check it out and then come back here. In my mind, it was like, you could check out everything we're seeing there in about 20 minutes. So I'm like, hey, it's not going to be but I didn't want to give them a deadline, because I like people to have some freedom, to explore, but not that much freedom. I thought, okay, 20 minutes is the average to check this out. Maybe if they really like it, 30 minutes, maybe 40. Okay, the schedule can deal with an extra 10, 20 minutes lost here. But it couldn't really deal with an extra 30, 40 minutes lost there, which is what happened. And then I said, I let my annoyance be seen, which I shouldn't have done as a professional tour guide. Speaking of which, I do not have a topic in mind for this video. I was thinking about talking about minimum wage and inflation, but you guys don't like me talking about politics. But let's touch on it briefly. I'll sum it up. I'll sum up what would have otherwise been a whole video. Minimum wage should rise with inflation. So if inflation goes up 5% a year, minimum wage should go up 5% that year. Minimum wage should rise every single year, because it doesn't make sense if it doesn't, because minimum wage, when it's chosen, is designed to be the minimum wage for a person to get by on. And if inflation goes up 5% that year, then that means the very next year, it's no longer enough to get by on because the price of things goes up. So minimum wage should follow inflation. And for the people that say, oh, minimum wage is for high school students who don't even have a career plan yet, blah, 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 you're idiots. Because if you go to McDonald's at 10 o'clock in the morning, are you trying to tell me that everybody behind the thing is a high school student? Well, why the hell aren't they in school, moron? You know, I hate that. Oh, minimum wage is only for children. What children are working between the hours of like 9 to 5? And when you actually look at the statistics, there's like a really high percentage of like single mothers that work at McDonald's and crap like that. Because of the fact they got knocked up young, they don't have the freedom to get further education, etc. Well, whatever. Everyone's situation is different, and you can't judge someone. You don't know what trials and tribulations someone's going through and why they ended up having to take a minimum wage job, and you shouldn't judge them for it. So that would have been a whole video. What was I going to talk about? Oh, this is a much better video. I'm going to talk about the worst tour guests I've ever had. I've thought about this a few times, and I've never talked about it. And I haven't given a tour in like 2 years now, so, you know, it's pretty safe to talk about them without naming them and for them to not know who I'm talking about. Who was the absolute worst? Let's think. Well, yeah, the absolute worst tour I ever had, I have mentioned this in a video, is a group that I got from Singapore. A bunch of older Singaporean men. Absolute, as all of them. Like, it was the worst, you know. To be perfectly honest, there are certain countries whose people I wouldn't be happy to get, and I'm not going to say which countries or which people or anything, but yeah, I do have biases. Do you know why? Because I'm not an idiot. I hate people who say they're completely unbiased, completely unprejudiced. Oh, really? Oh, really? So that means like what? Like if... it's such bullshit. It means like what? Like if you're a woman and you say that you're totally PC, you're totally unbiased, unracist, that means if like 2 elevator doors opened up and one elevator door had another white woman that looked just like you, and the other elevator door had a bunch of big guys from a country who you hear treat women really poorly, you would get, like, even if, so the one with all the men from a country that treat women really poorly is like 2 feet closer to you than the other elevator door that opened up that has the woman. You wouldn't walk the extra 2 feet. You would just get on with those men because you're PC. That's what you do, right? Because it's 2 feet closer? Bull crap, you would. And if you do, you're an idiot. Because if they start hassling you in that elevator, well, guess what? You deserved it. Because the other elevator opened up with a woman in it. Anyways, I'm getting political again, aren't I? It's just ridiculous. Like, I love the one, it was like, there was a woman who decided to travel solo across the Middle East to prove that, like, Muslims are good or something like that. And she was raped and killed within, like, 20 minutes of getting off the plane. Like, true, like, I'm exaggerating, but that's a true story. There was a woman who was she was like bicycling or something. She was traveling solo across Islamic countries to make a point. Like, her whole purpose was to promote Islam. And she was raped and murdered, like within a day or two of getting off the plane. Yeah, so, you know, but you know, but here's the thing.